Imagine having the ear of, well, one of history's greatest industrialists. A titan who built an empire, really, from the ground up. What timeless secrets would he share about achieving success? About, dramatically raising your own worth?
Hmm.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into the profound philosophy of achievement. This comes from conversations between Napoleon Hill and the legendary Andrew Carnegie.
Right.
Our mission here is to extract the most potent insights, really, from excerpts of the book, How to Raise Your Own Salary. We want to offer you a shortcut to understanding these timeless principles that govern, well, personal and professional elevation. Let's dig in.
It's pretty amazing stuff, isn't it? We're pulling directly from Carnegie's own experiences, his own insights that he shared with Hill. He believed that all success, um, regardless of its scale, it fundamentally begins with a definite purpose. And just as importantly, a definite plan for carrying it out.
Right.
What's really fascinating, I think, is his observation that successful people often achieve so much more, but with apparently no greater effort than those who fail.
That's striking, isn't it? Right out of the gate. It makes you wonder, okay, if it's not just about working harder, what is that missing piece? And Carnegie was pretty blunt about where most people go wrong.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He didn't mince words at all.
Yeah.
He estimated that, get this, 98 out of 100 wage earners lacked a definite major purpose beyond just holding their current job.
98%. Wow.
Yeah. Their limitations, he insisted, weren't external barriers. They were self-imposed mental boundaries.
Okay.
And this leads us straight to a pretty fundamental question for you listening right now. Yeah. What kind of space are you actually occupying in the world? And what influence are you wielding based on your own definite purpose?
It's a big question. And for many, finding that one singular purpose, well, that feels like the hardest part, doesn't it?
It can, yeah.
How would Carnegie advise someone who's, still searching for that definite major purpose?
Well, I think he'd say the search itself is the first step of having a definite purpose. Start with what you desire most, what you really want, even if it feels, miles away. Then start to reverse engineer a plan. How could you get there? The act of making a definite decision, even if it's just deciding to find your purpose, that act itself shifts your mindset. It's about cultivating clarity, knowing where you're headed.
Right, taking that first definite step. And once you have that clear purpose, Carnegie shows us how to, well, supercharge it by tapping into something he called the mastermind principle. How did he define that exactly?
Okay, the mastermind principle. He defined it as the coordination of two or more minds working together in a spirit of absolute harmony toward a definite end.
Harmony. Okay.
And it's not just surface-level cooperation. It demands, as he put it, heart as well as head, in full sympathy with the objective.
So it's deeper than just getting smart people in a room. It's this true alignment of their mental and emotional energy.
Exactly.
What's really intriguing here is that Carnegie explained this blending creates an intangible force. That's his term. Something no single mind can achieve alone. And it provides contact with the power of the universal mind. What did he mean by that?
Yeah, that sounds a bit mystical, maybe. But think of it like this. When multiple minds genuinely align, when they really work in harmony towards one goal, they generate this collective intelligence. It's far greater than just adding up their individual abilities.
Synergy.
Synergy, exactly. It's about tapping into this, well, vast reservoir of creative solutions and insights that emerge from that true harmony. He saw this historically with the American founding fathers.
Right.
People like John Hancock, Samuel Adams, Richard Henry Lee. They used this principle through letters, secret meetings, to coordinate their efforts. And that ultimately led to the Declaration of Independence, the liberty we have today.
And he obviously applied this directly in his own empire with his famous mastermind group.
Oh, absolutely.
But he also saw it in everyday things, like a railroad crew working together smoothly, the conductor, the engineer, everyone in sync, even in personal life. He noted it in a successful marriage where a husband and wife put their hearts and heads together, as he said, for the common good. That leads to happiness, security. He specifically called a wife's intensely enthusiastic approval of her husband's work priceless help.
Yeah, that's a strong statement. And on the flip side, he used the example of hobos in a freight car as a sort of poignant example of people without a definite purpose and without a mastermind. They lacked coordination, they lacked effort, and so they were just stuck. It really highlights how powerful that alignment can be.
Definitely. Okay, so from this bedrock of purpose and collective power, we shift to the power of consistent action, what Carnegie called going the extra mile. It sounds simple, maybe obvious, but how did he define this habit?
Well, the definition is simple. consistently rendering more service and better service than you're actually paid for. But the benefits he described are uh, incredibly profound.
Such as?
Well, first, this habit makes individuals indispensable. It allows them effectively to fix their own incomes, as he put it.
Fix their own incomes. Interesting.
Yeah, it naturally attracts opportunities that just aren't available to people doing the bare minimum. It also really helps in developing self-reliance.
Okay.
And maybe most importantly, it activates what he called the law of increasing returns. This means your diligent effort, your extra effort, it eventually compounds. It leads to rewards, compensation, far greater than the market value of your initial service.
What really stands out to me there is that this habit, going the extra mile, it's completely under your control.
Totally.
You don't need anyone's permission to do it. And Carnegie highlighted people like Mr. Williams, this young stenographer who just went out of his way to get into the way of work. He kept promoting himself, moving up in the steel organization, and eventually founded his own successful drug company.
And it wasn't just for, the entry-level folks. Charles Schwab's own incredible rise. Carnegie noticed him largely because of Schwab's unbeatable mental attitude and his willingness to always go the extra mile and then 2 or 3 extra. So it's not just about putting in more hours, right? It's about a mindset of constantly seeking to add value, to do more than expected.
It reminds me of that analogy he used about nature. The farmer plants a seed, right, that's essentially doing more than paid for. And nature, through these laws of compensation and increasing returns, yields a crop many, many times the amount planted.
Exactly.
So, like Carnegie said, every man sets his own wage scale by the sort of service he renders, the quality and the quantity of his service, plus the mental attitude in which he renders it. That really reframes how you think about compensation, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Puts the power back in your hands. And it also sheds some interesting light on education.
How so?
Well, while college training provides invaluable discipline for your thoughts, he argued that combining that education with the habit of going the extra mile, that accelerates success far more than either one can do alone. It's about applying knowledge with relentless initiative.
Applying it with initiative. Got it. Okay, so beyond purpose and action, Carnegie really stressed the vital importance of cultivating an attractive personality. Success in all walks of life, he said, hinges on goodwill and confidence. And an attractive personality is how you build those. What did he see as the core qualities here?
Well, the very first quality Carnegie looked for in people for responsible positions, sometimes even before proven ability, was a positive mental attitude.
Ability, that's significant.
It is. He believed a negative attitude just disturbs harmony, makes teamwork impossible. But a positive attitude fosters this willingness to learn, to cooperate. And he saw it as just as crucial for your physical health as having a prosperity consciousness is for financial success.
Right.
He strongly warned against things like sustained hatred or fear or even constantly talking about illness, which he thought could lead to imaginary illnesses. It's about maintaining this vibrant, inviting mental state.
That makes sense. He also highlighted tactfulness. Now, he gave a lot of examples of what not to do, which can sound a bit dated maybe.
A little bit, yeah.
But what was the essence of what Carnegie was getting at with tact? What do you think is the most commonly overlooked aspect of it today?
I think the essence is really simple. Doing and saying the right thing at the right time. It's fundamentally about making other people feel valued and respected, whatever the situation.
Okay.
In today's world, so fast-paced, so digital, I'd say the most overlooked aspect is probably listening more than you speak.
Yes.
And also maybe avoiding offering uninvited opinions. True tact often involves just holding your tongue, offering genuine presence instead of needing to jump in with an immediate response or correction.
Listening more, speaking less. Sounds simple, but hard to practice sometimes.
Definitely.
Then there's a keen sense of justice. He defined this as intentional honesty, meaning you stick rigidly to honesty, even when it's maybe not to your immediate advantage. It goes beyond just what's convenient.
Right, it's about principle.
And versatility, too. A general understanding of the world, of human nature. He felt with so many books and educational opportunities available, there's really little excuse for not being reasonably informed on various subjects, especially things impacting, national, political, and economic fortunes.
Yeah, he believed in being well-rounded. And finally, maybe the simplest but most profound trait, just liking people, genuinely liking people.
How did he see that playing out?
Well, Carnegie observed that people instantly recognize, almost subconsciously, those who genuinely like others, and they're naturally attracted to them, just like they instinctively resent those who seem to have a natural dislike for others.
Interesting.
He believed this operates through what he called the law of retribution, based on your dominant mental attitudes. Essentially, what you put out there mentally, emotionally, it tends to come back to you.
So if you genuinely like people.
They'll likely be drawn to you, cooperate with you. If you harbor resentment or dislike, that often gets reciprocated too. This is why he saw intolerance as such a major handicap. It makes enemies, it stops your own mental growth, stifles imagination, and prevents clear, accurate thinking.
It really sounds like Carnegie understood that all this external success, it really starts with internal mastery.
Absolutely.
And nowhere is that clearer than in his insights on how we control our own thoughts and imagination. He identified self-discipline as the master battery. How does that work? What did he mean by that?
He saw self-discipline as the essential tool to harness and, importantly, direct our powerful inborn emotions, especially emotions like love and ambition or drive, which he often linked to sex energy. He believed you needed to channel these into your chosen endeavors.
Channel him.
Yeah, he called the process transmutation. Carnegie understood that these powerful energies, if they're just left unchecked, they can be really disruptive, right? But if you learn to redirect that intense energy, he used analogies like a river's force being channeled to power a turbine, you can use it to fuel your greatest achievements. He flat out stated that no great leader ever reached their position without mastering and directing these two powerful emotions.
That's a bold claim. And he felt controlling that drive, that energy, made other kinds of self-discipline easier.
He did. He saw it as foundational. The core function of self-discipline, in his view, was to balance your reasoning faculty, your head, with the impulses coming from your emotions, ensuring you act thoughtfully rather than impulsively.
Okay, that makes sense. And this connects directly to what he called organized thought. He used that analogy of the mind being like a garden.
Right. If you don't actively cultivate it with definite chosen thoughts, it will inevitably grow weeds, just stray, unproductive, often negative thoughts.
And the benefits of organized thought.
Oh, immense peace of mind, first and foremost. He believed it leads to more permanent happiness, the ability to analyze situations accurately, and even helps maintain sound physical health by preventing things like self-pity or dwelling on imaginary ailments.
And he also mentioned the impact of other people's thoughts.
Yes, this is critical. Your mind, he said, is constantly being bombarded by thoughts from those around you. A consistently negative-minded person can actually influence, even silently, everyone within their sort of mental range.
Wow.
Which really underscores why harmony is so essential in those mastermind alliances we talked about. If you're going to team up, you absolutely need a shared positive mental space. Otherwise, negativity can sabotage the whole thing.
That's a powerful idea. Okay, then there's imagination. Carnegie divided this into two types, synthetic and creative. How did he distinguish those?
Okay, so synthetic imagination is basically about combining existing ideas, concepts, facts, principles, but in new arrangements, putting old things together in a new way. Think about most patents, actually. They're often new arrangements of existing ideas or components. Henry Ford's very first concept, converting a steam tractor into a horseless buggy, that was synthetic imagination. The first mail-order house, just applying existing merchandising ideas in a new way. Even the first refrigerator car was just a converted boxcar, initially.
Okay, so rearranging existing pieces. What about creative imagination then?
That's different. That's where you generate genuinely new ideas. Ideas that seem to come out of nowhere, potentially from your subconscious mind, or what he sometimes referred to as infinite intelligence.
Now, how does that happen?
It's often stimulated, he believed, by an obsessional desire focused on a specific problem or goal, combined with intense, repeated thought about it.
Obsessional desire.
Yeah, think of Thomas Edison and the incandescent lamp. Thousands of experiments, right? But the final breakthrough, the idea about using charcoal, apparently came as a subconscious hunch after relentless focus. Or Henry Ford again. The specific designs for the internal combustion engine and the planetary transmission for the Model T. Those reportedly came to him from his subconscious after his desire to create that specific car became totally obsessional.
And didn't Bell's telephone come about similarly?
Exactly. Alexander Graham Bell was searching obsessively for a hearing aid for his wife, a purpose driven by really keen sympathy. And in that intense search, he stumbled, as he'll put it, upon the principle of the telephone.
So it seems like both types of imagination are crucial, combining what's known and also being open to something entirely new, often driven by that intense focus.
Precisely. And crucially, Carnegie stressed that imagination, just like a muscle, could be developed through consistent use. But it atrophies from neglect. You have to exercise it.
And he even saw this applying in sales, right?
Oh, yeah. He noted that really effective salespeople, the ones with imagination, they often sell something entirely different from what they appear to be selling on the surface.
Like,
Well, the example given was an insurance agent selling a huge $1 million policy to a prominent lawyer. What was he really selling? Not just security. He was selling vanity, the prestige, the headline that would come with having such a large policy. He used imagination to tap into a deeper motive.
that's clever.
Yeah.
Okay, and rounding out this section on the mind, we have habit formation.
Right. Simply put, habits are formed by repeating thoughts or physical acts until they become automatic. The crucial point Carnegie made is that habits can be voluntarily chosen, consciously cultivated,
Wow.
or they can develop unconsciously, often leading to undesirable ones taking root without you even realizing it. He specifically warned that things like poverty, constant worry, even failure itself can become ingrained habits if you passively accept them or allow them to dominate your mind.
Wow. Shifting gears slightly, Carnegie also clearly saw certain supporting pillars within American institutions as being really integral to individual opportunity.
He definitely did. He was a huge champion of the American system as he saw it. He praised our form of government specifically because it provided individual liberty, freedom of thought, speech, worship, and crucially, freedom of individual initiative. That last one was key for him.
Individual initiative. And he saw the banking system as sort of the financial division working hand in hand with the political division.
Harmoniously, yeah.
Yeah.
And the system of free enterprise, he saw that as the major engine of exchange. He believed it was run efficiently precisely because everyone involved, management, owners, workers, had a desire for profit.
Okay.
This system, he felt, both inspired people and provided a natural form of compensation. It cultivated personal initiative, it cultivated leadership qualities, and that desire for financial gain. He ranked it as one of the three most powerful human motives, right up there with love and sex drive.
Interesting ranking. Now here's where it gets maybe a bit controversial or at least challenging to modern ears. Carnegie insisted that opportunities are not fewer now. He said they are more numerous than ever before.
Yeah, that's a strong counter-narrative to what you often hear.
Yeah.
He argued that people complaining about a lack of opportunity were suffering from a short-sighted belief and often an inferiority complex, primarily because they were neglecting their own initiative.
So it was a call for personal responsibility, really.
A very strong one, yes.
And this ties into economic security. How did he say that's achieved?
Through two things, mainly. Careful management of your income and strict self-discipline in spending. Pretty straightforward, but hard to do.
Easier said than done.
For sure. He stressed the habit of saving, suggesting even just 5% of gross income consistently. And crucially, that saved money shouldn't just sit there. It should be put to work, earning more money, making your money work for you.
Right, the compounding principle again. And he applied this idea of habit to health, too.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
He had some interesting views on health. He described the physical body as basically a self-maintaining house for the mind, commanded by the brain. And he believed sound health required, first and foremost, that positive mental attitude we talked about earlier, but also conscious effort regarding diet. He recommended a variety of natural foods, getting proper minerals, maybe vitamins if needed, and also how you eat, no gulping food down, no constant snacking between meals.
No tidbits. And what was that about headaches?
Ah, yes. He called headaches a great blessing.
A blessing.
Yeah, because he saw them as nature's signal that something's wrong, that your body needs assistance. A signal we too often just ignore or suppress with drugs instead of figuring out the underlying cause.
That's a different perspective. He also emphasized the golden rule, didn't he?
He did, but not just as a nice platitude or a passive belief. He saw it as something to be actively applied in all your dealings. Doing so, he believed, opens the mind to receiving insights from that infinite intelligence again, and it offers countless benefits in human relationships, benefits that, once earned through genuine application, cannot be taken away from you.
So it's practical, not just philosophical.
Very practical, in his view. And that connects to the law of compensation. He called this an eternal verity, something inescapable. Your thoughts and your deeds, he argued, ultimately determine your position, your influence, your circumstances in life.
And using your mind power negatively.
He believed if you use your mental energy to try and damage others, you actually end up diminishing your own power. Like a cosmic balancing act. What goes around comes around, essentially.
Okay. And finally, what about defeat? Failure. How did Carnegie view that?
He had a really constructive view of defeat. He didn't see it as necessarily destructive. Instead, he called it a potential mental tonic.
The tonic.
Yeah, a signal that you need to change your plans, but, importantly, not your ultimate purpose. Defeat could be a way to stimulate your willpower to make you stronger. It's about using that self-discipline we discussed earlier to transmute those negative emotions, disappointment, frustration, into constructive power, turning a setback into fuel.
Turning setbacks into fuel. Okay, so as we start to wrap up this deep dive, it seems incredibly clear that while, yes, economic conditions change, social landscapes shift, these core principles of personal achievement that Carnegie laid out, they feel pretty timeless, don't they? Just as effective today, potentially, as they were in his time.
I think so. He truly believed that everyone, absolutely everyone, has the potential for genius. And by genius, he didn't necessarily mean IQ. He meant having an obsessional desire to do one particular thing really well, combined with the willingness to actually act on your own initiative to make it happen.
An obsessional desire plus initiative.
Right. And what people need most, he argued, isn't just handouts or gifts of money. They need knowledge with which they may become self-determining. Because poverty, he stressed again and again, is fundamentally a state of mind. It's a habit.
A state of mind, a habit. That's powerful.
And this led him to a pretty strong call to action for society. He believed we need a practical plan to actually teach these fundamentals of individual achievement, grounded in personal initiative. And this teaching needs to start right in our homes and in our public schools.
Why did he feel that was so critical?
Because without consciously cultivating this spirit, Carnegie warned, America risked losing its pioneering edge, becoming complacent, indifferent to the vast opportunities still available, and maybe too easily succumbing to defeat when challenges arise.
A pretty stark warning. We've certainly unpacked a lot of Andrew Carnegie's powerful insights today. From that absolute necessity of definiteness of purpose.
And the Mastermind Alliance.
Right, to the transformative habit of going the extra mile.
Cultivating that attractive personality.
And the disciplined mastery of your own thoughts and your imagination.
It covers a lot of ground.
It really does. So as you, our listener, reflect on this deep dive, maybe consider this final thought. If your mind truly is the only thing over which you have complete absolute control, and if your limitations really are just those you set up within your own mind, as Carnegie insisted, what single mental habit or what definite purpose will you choose to consciously take possession of starting today to begin reshaping your own wheel of fortune, as he might put it, and move closer to your own definition of success?